Yeah, that's Mark Morrison. But yeah, do you think this should be the soundtrack to Donald Trump's?
No.
Why not?
Because he doesn't really like this kind of music, I don't think. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
He's going to be, whichever way you look at it, he's got the nod, hasn't he? But we do know one of the pieces of music he did used to get there on the campaign trail was by what's the name of the group now? They sang YMCA.
Oh, that one. Yeah, I've forgotten their name.
Village People.
That's the one, yes.
All right. He's two songs by Village People. This one and
Is
another.
it because he likes Village People?
I don't know. Okay. Again, a question that we perhaps need to ask the man on the spot in Delaware, not in Washington, but in Delaware.
Close enough.
Professor, Department of History, Political Science and Philosophy, Delaware State University, Dr. Akwesi Osei, who's joining us to discuss a little bit about what's happening with the 47th president who's been inaugurated today. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Doc.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. Sleepy, but well.
Thank you for joining us. We know it's still about 4 o'clock in the morning where you are, so much appreciated. Have we lost him? Oh.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. So anyway, right, what generally from your perspective is the mood ahead of the inauguration of the 47th president today?
Yeah, good morning, Kojo, and good morning, Xtra, and the rest of Ghana. I'm happy to be here and report that Mr. Trump has taken over Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. For the last couple of days, there's been different kinds of inaugural festivities, some very somber, including laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier outside Washington, D.C. And yesterday he took a sort of a victory lap at an arena in Washington, D.C. And you know that the events have been moved indoors because of the threat of very low temperatures that are destined to happen today. Mm. And so everything has been inside, and he took a victory lap last night. Mm. And from what I hear, he is truly in charge of the capital city. You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We heard you. Thank you very much. So with this in mind and the historic events that will happen today, there's some noticeable absences from the list of those who will be attending. We already know that Michelle Obama and Nancy Pelosi will both not attend. Are we supposed to read anything into that?
Some of us have chosen to take the people who are saying they're not going to be there at their word. Mm. Nancy Pelosi, as you know, has been on the mend following a fall she had when she was traveling overseas. Mrs. Obama, I believe, had a previously scheduled a trip that she has been on. She didn't even make it for Jimmy Carter's funeral. And people have been speculating, but as I said, I have chosen to focus on their word. They couldn't make it, and they send their regrets that they wouldn't be available. But she's the only one that they're talking about.
Right. Okay. Also in attendance, however, will be TikTok CEO Xu Zichu, along with China's Vice President Han Zheng. Now, the importance of their attendance following what has been going on with TikTok?
Well, it's never happened before that we've invited a Chinese diplomat or a representative of the Chinese government festivities. So it clearly is an eye-opener, but it has everything to do with the TikTok situation, especially since Mr. Trump has signaled his intention to perhaps find a way out that would allow TikTok to continue to operate in the United States.
Right, so this is pretty historic that Donald Trump has managed to get them there. Now,
Yes.
Trump has himself claimed in recent times, before I get back to the inauguration itself, in recent times that it is his intervention that led to the peace that we're supposed to be seeing in Gaza and around that area. Now, are we expecting more of such from the Trump presidency?
Well, I would have to say that everybody was involved in what happened in Gaza. There's no question that the main contours of the peace deal were the ones that were put out in May by outgoing President Biden. But there's also no question that Trump and his advisors, including his Middle East envoy, had everything to has happened. Of course, everybody can tell that anything can derail the process. But at this point, it appears that Biden, Trump, Netanyahu, the folks in Gaza are all on one page,
right?
All hoping, sitting on pins and needles, that the process is not derailed.
Right. So the inauguration takes place, and you've explained some of the things that will happen. There's a promise that within hours of him actually officially entering the White House again as the president, he will literally sign into existence several new interventions very, very quickly. Something like 100 is the figure being mentioned. Is this exaggeration, hyperbole on the part of Donald Trump, or can we expect to see a lot of things being done very quickly?
No, it's not hyperbole. Donald Trump has a tendency to show bluster, and that's what he's doing. But fortunately, or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, he is serious. And we have been told that right after he becomes president, he's going to sign a slew, close to 100 executive orders that would, among others, call a lot of things that Mr. Biden had put in place. But he has threatened that one of the biggest things he's going to do is to go ahead and deport as many people as he could. That, we've been reporting, people have been reporting that it is intended to begin in the city of Chicago. They are targeting the cities that they call sanctuary cities. These are mostly liberal-led cities such as New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles. They've been put on notice that he's coming to get them, so to speak.
Right. Okay.
He's not bluffing. I think he intends to do that, and we anticipate that it's going to be chaotic, but he's going to do something.
Right. Okay. Now, before I get into some of the policies that affect Ghanaians and other African people a little bit more strongly, there's one question I wanted to find out. Again, the establishment of this new office that Elon Musk is part of for oversight for governance or responsible governance, etc., etc. DOGE or something, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Doge.
Yeah. I mean, how critical will this be, and how empowered can it be?
Insofar as it is announced and has been set up by the White House, one has to take it seriously. Secondly, the idea is not necessarily a bad idea. Everybody knows that the federal government is a bloated bureaucracy, and so Doge's efforts are intended to look for places to cut. The question has always been that for people like him and Ramaswamy, the co-chairs of this Doge committee, their concern, people are saying, is their bottom line.
Right.
What is going to be done to benefit them.
Right. Okay.
And so the people who are complaining are saying that these are people who have, in the case of Mr. Musk, you know, he has a huge federal government contract.
Right.
And so they call it, in a sense, it's a conflict of interest. I mean, you cannot be tasked with cutting
government expenditure,
the budget, when you are benefiting from that same budget.
Right.
But Trump has insisted that he's going to be different, and this is one way in which he's going to be different. But let's also be clear that DOGE is an executive action.
Right.
Is not necessarily a U.S. government total action.
Right.
In other words, Congress would have a say on that. You know, Congress's job is to appropriate money.
Right.
That's not DOGE's job. That's Congress. But one has to also admit that Mr. Trump has the congressional Republicans under his thumb.
Right.
And that's why some of us have taken it seriously, that if he says he's going to do it, chances are he's going to attempt to do something. And as we know, Trump always comes up with something.
Right. This Donald, in certain places in the Americas and in the United States of America, he may be deemed to be a convicted felon, or maybe he's actually been to court once or twice. Now, situationally, from your historical perspective, is this the first time we've got a president come into office who's actually been convicted of a crime?
That's correct. That is absolutely correct. And that is exactly what Mr. Trump had tried to avoid. The moniker that indeed he is the first ever sitting president to have been convicted of a crime. He did not succeed. Even the Supreme Court decided not to get involved, and they let it stand. But the truth is, and the fact is, that all those cases that were that he was charged with have all gone away where he's concerned.
Right.
That is a major victory for him. They've all gone away. Especially now that we know that on one of the cases, the one with the documents case, where he supposedly took the documents home
to Mar-a-Lago,
the prosecutor has written his report, and the report is saying, we were very clear that we had the evidence to convict him, but now they can't, because by law, by convention, not necessarily by law, but by policy, long-standing policy of the federal government, you cannot indict or try a sitting president. It would interfere with his
ability to do his
duties. And so he is off, essentially.
Right. He escaped by the skin of his teeth. Now, specifically implementation of stricter immigration enforcement measures and overhauling the asylum system to prevent abuse and streamline processes for legal immigrants. Who are the most endangered in this under these kinds of provisions if they are brought into play?
Yeah, the most endangered are and again, I'm hesitating on the numbers, but we have close to 15 to 20 million undocumented people who are in this country without any relevant legal justification. And those people some of them have been here for generations. And so the question has become, if you're going to go out and get these people, what's going to happen to their families? By law, if a kid is born in these United States, they are automatically American citizens. That is constitutionally guaranteed. Article number, I believe, is the 14th Amendment that guarantees citizenship to anybody who was born within these borders. And so how are you going to do that? That's why it's not going to be easy for Mr. Trump to be able to get his way. But it is also going to be easy because everybody knows where some of these undocumented people are.
Right.
So they have promised raids right after he becomes president. And the speculation has been that it will start in Chicago, where they know exactly where to go.
Right.
Look, the system knows who are undocumented. Most of those people are working. The question is, who are they working for?
Okay.
They're getting paid and they're paying taxes. So it's a very complicated situation. But Mr. Trump made it his campaign promise that he's going to make sure that Americans are the ones who are doing these jobs. Right. Unfortunately for him, I'm sorry, most of these people doing jobs that most Americans would not do. And so the question is, we're all waiting to see if indeed, if they're rounded up and deported. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but something is going to happen. And we're all hoping that it would be legal and that we don't get into a situation where businesses are raided. After all, he's a businessman. He says he's business friendly and he doesn't want to jeopardize the business environment, which as a businessman, he's bringing, saying that he's going to bring to get a situation where things are good for businesses. Right. It's going to be difficult for him to sort of thread that needle where you get rid of undocumented folks.
Right.
At the same time, it doesn't affect the businesses because most of them work in farms. And I know in Delaware, we have one of the biggest businesses in Delaware is poultry farming. Right. A lot of the people who live in those places, in some of the little towns in Delaware, are undocumented, but they're the ones doing that work. And the question is, how is that going to affect business? Mr. Trump does not want to, indicate to Wall Street that he's going to mess with the economy. And we have had a soundly performing economy under Mr. Biden. So there are some fault lines in there. And we are hoping that whatever happens, that decisions that are taken are not destabilizing.
Right. Two more questions before I let you go, because we can't get into too much of everything. But just very
He's not president yet.
Right. But there's the Remain in Mexico policy for asylum seekers from Mexico. Juxtapose that alongside what just happened or is happening in California, where Mexican firefighters were brought into California to assist fight the various fires. And this supposed good relationship when America needed Mexico against what is a policy thought process for Donald Trump.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Both his neighbors to the south, Mexico, and to the north, Canada, he's put them both on notice that he's going to, slap tariffs on them. But as you know, the president of Mexico has come back and said, well, Mr. President, maybe what we need to do. Trump had floated the idea that they need to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And she made fun of it and clapped back at Mr. Trump. But that is just the comedies that come with political decision making like this. But Mr. Trump is being public with some of the things that he wants to do as a way to garner some power in negotiation should it get there. Well, clearly he has been able to get the Canadian Prime Minister to resign, which was going to happen. His own people didn't think that he was going to be strong either. Right. So Trump understands that what he cannot do is to shake and create an imbalanced, destabilizing situation regarding the economy. Wall Street has been humming along. And as a businessman, I think he understands that he needs to pay attention to what's happening. So he's going to be active, he's going to be busy, but nobody knows exactly how it's going to turn out. Right. Because he's not going to get his way on everything. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. Hegseth was.
Yes.
I need for you to comment Donald Trump went ahead to nominate him for defense,
yes,
in spite of everything that people know about this man's character or
correct,
suspect about his character. What does that say about Donald Trump and what will happen in his presidency?
What it says about Donald Trump is he believes that he's in charge, and therefore it is his perspective that should rule the day, especially when it is solely in his ambit to decide who becomes secretary of whatever department that there is. It's his sole decision making that is legal. And so he's going to say, Hegseth is who I want, and Hegseth is who I'm going to get. Even though he is clearly unqualified, clearly he's had some challenges. As you know, he settled a rape charge with the woman, paid the woman, and the woman was asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement, not to talk about it. Apparently, there's some character issues regarding booze.
Is alcohol intake?
Drinks a lot. And there are a lot of people who are saying that the Pentagon, which is the largest department, millions of people, you control the largest fighting force in the world, as they say. You know, for you to be the guy in charge of that, you must have had quite a bit of experience. And that, for me, is the issue. It's not necessarily about his character. It is more about the fact that he has not done anything close to managing such a bureaucracy. And the question is, can he do it? He may have served in the military, in the armed forces, but that's hardly a reason to become Secretary of Defense.
Right. Okay. That was my final question for you. I know, because we are running out of time.
There was another issue that you probably didn't come up with, but one of the things he said was he was going to pardon January 6th rioters.
Right. Okay. Yes. Very quickly, if you can touch on that.
That's another interesting point. You know, there have been 900 convicted so far.
Right.
And nobody knows what's going to happen with that. But there's going to be some of those that he's going to be able to pardon. He could do that. Now, for some of the major people, like the head of the Ontario, is he going to be pardoned? We're yet to see.
Right. Yeah, but Donald Trump might argue that the largest single swathe of pardons ever in the history of America was just undertaken by Joe Biden. So would that not be an argument he puts forward?
He can say that, but I think everybody also understands that people are now buying and selling legally dope.
Right.
But most of those people are in jail for doing that.
Right. So
it doesn't make any sense to put them in jail.
Right.
Exactly. Okay. So Trump would lose that argument if he brought it out. But you're right. He is. He's going to pardon some of them.
Right. Okay. Your anticipation for a Trump presidency in 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds, I think one can say that America is in for a major ride. If you've ever ridden in one of those places, what do they call them? Roller coasters. America is on one of those now. And so for some of us who teach this, who do this as a profession, it's the fact that we don't know what's going to happen is what gives it the interest. And so we're watching every day. We're teaching it by the day in the classroom, and we're watching students to keep an eye, because that is the lab, the laboratory for how politics can be done in the age of Donald J. Trump.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwesi Osei, Professor, Department of History, Political Science and Philosophy, Delaware State University. Insights into the Don presidency. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye.
Return of the Trump. Well, there's also the return of the Clanky, who's about to deliver the news on the hour. That's how we end this Asaase Breakfast Show.
We are talking Trump, I will say Clank.
Sure. The return of the Clank, Wati. Don't miss. Well, it's been a super party. Lovely people. Mustache. We're back tomorrow with more. Stay tuned for the duration. Asaase Cafe follows and then takes you to the 12 o'clock report, and then you got Between Hours, and then you have Drive The 995 rush hour takes you to the big bulletin. That's a lot not to miss. So stay with us, the voice of our land. The news is right up next.